Thank you very much. And Mr. Krames?
Thank you. I oppose the fire assessment fee, and I think that it's a symptom of a lack of correct priorities. Fire services is a core service, and we shouldn't need to have a special assessment fee to fund it. While we were levying the fire assessment fee, millions of dollars are flowing in the budget to parks, to sidewalks, to nature trails, that in addition to what was there in previous years. These things are being expanded, and in a time of economic downturn, I think that we need to get our focus back on core services, make sure that they are funded first and they're the biggest priority, and consider what the government should be doing right now, not expanding those types of non-essential infrastructure. We need to keep taxes low so the economy can recover, so business owners have more money to keep people on staff and invest it back into their business so the economy can start to recover, and so the government just gets out of the way and allows business to do what they do best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krames. Mr. Poe, your response, please.
Thank you. I, of course, do support the fire assessment, as evidenced by my vote in favor of it. And the first reason is that it diversifies our revenue stream, and it's a dedicated funding source to a core public safety entity of our city that cannot be touched by any other department. It's locked in and must be spent on fire services that protect our property and home values. Second of all, it's a more equitable distribution of funding for that service. Because of Save Our Homes, over the years, there is a very unequal system of taxation where somebody that moved to Gainesville recently and bought a house is paying way more than their fair share, where somebody who has lived here for a long time pays almost nothing. And so this spreads that out equally. It also helps businesses because non-homesteaded properties do not receive the same advantages of homeowners, and therefore the burden on business is less than if it were funded through ad valorem taxes. And finally, that's a $5 million gap that is not going to be closed by shutting down a few nature trails or a few sidewalks. It is a significant part of our budget, and I have not heard a single candidate in any of the races yet suggest how they would make up that $5 million gap with specific cuts. So all around, I think it was a wise policy decision on the part of the City Commission. Thank you.
Okay. Sure, that was a good segue. I disagree with the fire assessment fee as well. And the bottom line is we did not get there overnight. We did not wake up one day and realize, oh my gosh, we need to come up with $8 million. It's been years of this, and it's been years of poor planning, and that's what I feel I can bring to the commission. I do run a business. My business has had as high as 50 employees. We've been down to 17. We're at 24 right now, and we're creeping back up. And you have to plan, and you have to prioritize. The fact that we got to that point and did pass this tax or fee, whatever you want to call it, is, to me, a sign that we'll continue to do that because the times are going to continue to be challenging. So again, as I bring up the fact that we've got to look at all kinds of things. We have pension assumptions that affect us sometimes. We have to put money back in there. We have to look at UF with new eyes maybe and look to them as a source. We have to look to the business community to grow the economy and do other things. We have to look at people. The bottom line is that this stuff's not going to be easy. 64% of our budget basically is people costs, okay? I can get in there and I can look at stuff and help redefine what we call fat and muscle and bone across programs and across different divisions and departments. We've got a county government that's right alongside with us. We've got to have some duplication there, and I am not afraid to look at everything we do with a fresh perspective and a new vision for how we can try to make efficiencies and save more money for the citizens. Then we can start going back like my company is and start growing again.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Thank you, Mr. Chase. For our next question, we're going to begin with Mr. Krames. With no clear economic upswing on the horizon, how would you continue to balance the city's budget? Please name specific programs or areas in the budget that you would target for cuts, or name potential new increased sources of revenue. Mr. Krames.
That's a great response to something that was raised by my opponent about what areas to cut. And but first, I'd like to say that I think it's interesting that we have to lock in commissioners with a fire assessment fee to fund fire services when it's a core service. Do we not trust them to properly fund our core services? And that's said by a sitting commissioner, which is interesting. But there's millions and millions of dollars of areas of non-essential spending right now in the budget, and I've outlined them on my website, electrobertkrames.com. There's over $30 million in the general, or nearly $30 million in the capital gains or capital improvements budget allocated to building new nature trails, new sidewalks, expanding the bus services for our city, and I think that now's not the right time to expand those kind of services. Ironwood Golf Course loses nearly $800,000 every single year, and we just decided to invest another $1.5 million into upgrading it. Supposedly, we're going to make that up by increasing fees, but the golf course doesn't make any money, so how are we going to have increased revenue to pay for that? Mom's Kitchen, $125,000. No plan to utilize that restaurant for anything. I'm not sure exactly why we bought it. Community Redevelopment Agency created a new office building from the ground up for itself last year. Is that really the right time to do it in an economic downturn with a $5 million shortfall to build new office buildings for our city offices? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Krames. And I'd like to remind the audience that you can handwrite. You can write some questions on some index cards that Reba is handing around. So if you'd like to write some questions, please hand them to Reba. Thank you. Have I been on or off? I can't tell if I'm on or off. Okay. Our next question. Oh, there we are. Okay. So our next question, we're going to begin with Mr. Poe.
Same question, right?
Yeah. Thank you. There we go.
Thank you. We have balanced our budget for the next 2-year cycle. The city does a 2-year budget cycle, and we are balanced for the next 2 years. But you're correct, revenues will not be increasing. And so we cannot expect to see really any new spending. We have to stay the course and make sure that we keep our expenditures under control. We have cut 41 positions from the city, to get us to that point, and we're really going to have to just be very austere and frugal as we move forward. Now, I do want to respond to some of the things that my opponent just said. First of all, Ironwood Golf Course, much of the loss that he indicated are sunk costs, and if we sold it, if we buried it, if we did whatever, those are still there until the bonds are paid off, which will be paid off in the next 5 to 7 years. And so since we have renovated that golf course, fees paid for by the golfers themselves, not by taxpayers, revenues have doubled. That course is now in the black. And so it was a good decision that is actually going to save taxpayers money in the long run. I voted against Mom's Kitchen, and I was not part of the group that thought that was a wise decision. And finally, the CRA office, we were paying the same to own that building as we were paying in rent before, but in another, when the loan is paid off, we won't be paying rent anymore. So these are the long-term decisions that city commissioners have to make. We can't take the short view and expect to be successful in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poe. Mr. Chase, your response, please.
Sure. Well, these are the kind of back and forths that quite frankly, I don't want to get into because I'm running again to bring a new voice, and I appreciate that their feelings. What I'll tell you is that I know that we looked at 3 tiers of decrements when we were looking at the budget last year, and what I would say to you is that perhaps we didn't make the hard decision and go deep enough. I know there was stuff out there, but once you decide to pass that fee, then you relax. I know what that's like in business. I can relate with how hard it is, though. My mother was a single mother and a social worker, and after 15 years of killing herself to teach and train and save alcoholics, she woke up one day for the state of Georgia, and they said, you're now going to be a field worker in the Department of Family and Children's Services, and you're going to go take these little kids out of these horrible houses. And I watched her, and I watched her cry, and I watched her suffer, but she did it, and she got up every day, and she worked hard, and she raised my brother and I well. So it's hard to do these things. I do not like when I have to look at employees of my company and say, we're making less money. We're doing less things. We're not hiring as much. But these things are out there. We got to focus on the economy. We got to focus on jobs. We have to be a supporter of business. The businesses out there are what create the engines that we need to grow here. We all remember the times when I live in District 2, so people in Mile Run and in Mill Upper Station were buying houses in Blues Creek and in Ashton, and it was exciting to them. They went from 1,700 square feet to 2,500 square feet. Things were doing pretty good. We need to return to that kind of level, get the activity going, get the housing market going again, and getting the economy going. Local businesses, and all are suffering because of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Mr. Ingle, your response.
I think one of the lack, or one of the perspectives that is really needed on the city commission is kind of a working person's perspective. You know, I've been working with my hands for a long time, and I think that voice is missing from the city commission. I've gone around and talked to a lot of city workers, and almost all of them have some idea of some way their job could be done more efficiently and something we could save money on. It is very hard to come in from outside of a situation and determine what inefficiencies are there and how it could be done better. The people that really know how to get these jobs done more quickly or how to get these jobs done better are the people doing these jobs. And you can kind of think back to your own experiences in this. I guarantee you, if any of you have worked a job, you knew more about that job than somebody coming in from the outside trying to tell you how to do a better job at it. So I think really engaging our workforce, making sure that they are feeling as part of the team, and having like an incentive program for places that they can find efficiencies can be a huge step towards making our government run more smoothly and getting the most out of the employees we have. And I don't think we can lay off people and get ourselves out of this problem. There's a certain amount of work that must be done by the city. Our workforce has already been cut a decent amount, and the more people we cut, the more work we're piling on the workers that we already have working for us. I don't think that's a reasonable option on how to get ourselves out of this problem.